If you could please take your seats or find a place to lean against the wall, we'd appreciate it. We're going to begin here in just a moment. My name is Troy Rayburn. I'm the city administrator for White Salmon. Welcome to White Salmon if you're not a resident of White Salmon, and we'd like to welcome the Skamania County Sheriff.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes. I want to make sure that everybody is able to get here, and we'll start in about 3 minutes. Crew that I invited up here, if you guys want to come take your hot seats, that'd be great.
Recording in progress.
Okay, everybody, it's 7 p.m. So I do want to start in a timely manner to try and save some of your time and make sure that I'm cognizant of that. So again, my name is Summer Shire. I am the sheriff of Skamania County. I called this meeting tonight, and I'm so glad that you're here. I know that you guys have been through a lot, and it's very important to me for you to be able to get the information that you need. I've brought up several people, and I tried to get everyone, our local representatives of different departments, that may be able to answer your questions that I cannot. Boy, has it been a week. I want to point out our resource list. We are updating our Facebook page and our websites throughout the day with the most current information. So I want to refer these to you. If you come up here, it's pretty simplistic, but I did want to get that out there so you guys know that that's available to you. So I'll rip through some brief points. I do want to have everyone that's sitting behind me introduce themselves so that you know who you're looking at.
My name is Marie Glusenkamp Perez. I live in Skamania County on the west side. I represent the 3rd congressional district, which is Skamania County and east out to the coast.
My name is Kevin Waters. I'm a 17th district representative for Skamania County and East Clark County. Longtime Skamania County resident, and I'm just thankful I can be here tonight. Thank you.
I'm Asa Leckie, Skamania County District 3 Commissioner.
Randy Payne, General Manager, Skamania County PUD.
Dennis Seidman, Fire Commissioner, Underwood Fire Department.
Aaron Krebs, Chief, Underwood Fire.
So I'll make some brief points. And I just ask that you will have all the opportunity to be able to ask any questions, and we'll do our absolute best to answer those. I ask that you just hold your questions until the end. Maybe I will be able to answer that as I go through these points. So on Sunday at around 11:19, we received the initial call of the fire. And I was on scene at Spring Creek Fish Hatchery shortly thereafter. It was absolutely incredible to see the fire response and how quickly it all fell together. There were aircraft already fighting the fire almost immediately when upon my arrival, which was very impressive, as they started to increase the state MOB, they call it, but it's state mobility. So they're bringing out more state resources. The increase in firefighters came within hours. We've escalated up to it from a type 3 to a type 2 incident, which brought in even more resources. And that change was so incredible to see and watch within a day and a half of watching so many resources pour in and seeing the incredible efforts of just our local firefighters and then people coming here to help all of us and to get this fire under control. So I will talk about the level 3 evacuation and how that happened. We used a reverse 911 system within our county. That was from a request from our deputies that were on scene. It started at a 2-mile radius and increased to a 4-mile radius pretty quickly. So typically you would want to be able to have that opportunity to know what the fire's doing and be able to map out for, making those evacuation choices. However, this was moving so quickly and so dangerously fast that that wasn't an option. Our deputies and I wrote this down because so many agencies came to help us. Clicktack County Sheriff's Office, Fish and Wildlife Officers, Forest Service law enforcement officers, and Benjamin White Salmon PD all came to knock on doors to let people know that they were in danger. It was very impressive of how quickly they were able to cover so much ground. The Red Cross was mobilized that evening to be able to supply resources and a place to stay, to be able to shelter. They set up in Stevenson. They are still set up there. So if there is still a need, or if there is a need that presents itself sooner, we will be able to have that resource as long as we need it. I'm working on a daily basis. I attend a 6 o'clock in the morning briefing with the firefighters. And then now we're meeting as a coordinators group at 9 a.m. to be able to get current information of what the fire's doing and how they're using the resources. I also have set up a meeting every day at 2 p.m. because I'm sure you guys are all anxious to get back and get this closure or this restriction lifted. As of this afternoon, we are working on certain sections to be able to lift the level 3 restriction and make it more relaxed in certain portions of the area to a level 2. So I don't have that information right now. We're still trying to draw up maps and decide what the best plan of action is. The Cook Underwood closure, it's a soft closure. I'm sure some of you have seen it. We have not had that manned. We have blockades in place. I don't want to restrict anybody from being at their homes. I do believe in personal freedoms. If you believe that that's a choice that you have to make, I'm not going to restrict that. I can't imagine what you all are going through. I can't imagine the angst that you're feeling. So that was the last thing that I wanted, was to have somebody try to forcefully block a road. So that's the choice that I made. And I hope that you're making the best choices with the decisions that you are. State Route 14, I just met with DOT and Washington State Patrol Sergeant today with fire personnel. There's major concerns with 14, and there are hazard trees that are in between tunnel number 4 and tunnel number 5. So DOT isn't comfortable in opening the road until those hazard trees are mitigated. The problem is that's an active fire situation. So I don't have an answer for you on State Route 14. It's still up in the air. It has to be safe enough for crews to be able to get in and be able to remove those trees before we can reopen 14. So I have a few concerns that I'll just lay out. And a lot of this information is fire related, and I'm regurgitating it from the briefing that I had at 9 a.m. this morning. This is the last day of extreme heat, which is great. We're going to be out of this red flag warning and heat advisory approximately at, I always want to say military time, I apologize, 11 p.m. So that's some good news. But when they say a cooling trend is happening, now we're talking high 80s, low 90s. And with that comes a change in the wind. And your East County residents, you guys know how the wind is. So the concern that I have is that, and I say I have, it's not the knowledge that I have, it's just what I'm relaying, is that the wind is shifting from the east winds to the west winds. And with these west winds are going to be sustained. It looks like they were going to be sustained relatively low and then building into gusts to 20 to 30 miles an hour. There's still a lot of fuel as that fire back burns into the burned area. So that's concerning. The fire crews have been really concentrating on that north portion of Cook Underwood Road. It did jump the road very briefly on Sunday. Thank goodness that was brought under control, because I can't imagine if it moved north, where we would be now. So I am thankful for that. They've been able to maintain that fire line. So that's really good news. And they've been really, really hounding that north end. The fire edge did move last night to the west, but the line only moved about 600 feet as of 9 o'clock this morning. Now that may have changed somewhat. And as you know, it progresses, they are trying to pre-plan to try and mitigate that fire from moving further west. The problem is, luckily the east winds are dying down and not pushing it west. But the problem is that west slope of where the fire is and near our fire line is very, very hazardous. They're unable to get boots on the ground and actually have firefighters going and digging fire line or, making that in that direct area. So they're relying mainly on aircraft to be able to mitigate that issue. So that's really difficult. They are pre-planning. I like their forethought that they're making fire breaks further west where they can get in, they can get equipment in, they can get people in to be able to make that buffer just in case. The last thing I want to make a point of, Broughton's Mill, they worked very hard to save those structures. And it's not so much for the private property owner, of course, that's for every private property owner. They're trying to do their best to save homes and structures. But if Broughton Mill went up and was, and actually caught on fire, what was explained to me with the current conditions, that would be devastating also to our Clicktack County neighbors. So with the winds and the current conditions at that time, they worked very hard to keep that from preventing or from creating any more issues. I am working on a structure map of homes that are lost. I didn't have anything definitive until I pulled into the parking lot at 5:45 this afternoon or this evening. It's really unfortunate. I made that a priority, and unfortunately it's not that the firefighters don't. They're obviously making residences a priority. They say it every day in our briefing, but to be able to get that communication and know where those houses are and know what houses are affected. They don't necessarily know the addressing system or GIS. So they're working on that, and we are working on getting some addressing and being able to put some numbers. That won't be for dissemination. That's not for the public's knowledge to be out there. It's just something that we need to start working on and having that established. So with that, I said I would keep it short. I hope that was short enough. This is your meeting. And so I want to field any questions that I can take. Yes, ma'am. Sure, I'll defer to Randy.
So water boil mandate is still in place. We are hopeful that we'll get good lab results tomorrow afternoon, which will allow us to remove the mandate, and then we can resume with regular water. Yes. We haven't found anything. We had a reservoir go dry, which triggers the boil mandate.
Can you repeat the questions? Just, we can't hear on Zoom. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Go. So for Zoom, and I'll abbreviate that a little bit, that basically asking the causation and talking about the possibility of this as a train incident. We don't have the answers to that right now. There is a DNR investigator that is working on that. He was down there on Sunday investigating, trying to find the point of origin. And so that's under active investigation, and I don't have the answer for you on that. I would imagine that we would not be able to stop the trains. We did have a great response after Broughton's of being able to work with BNSF and stop grinding at certain times of the year. But the railroad is a very strong entity. I'll put it like that. Absolutely, I understand. Sure, I can refer that to probably Congresswoman.
Yeah, I had some operating engineers in our office a couple of weeks ago. This is something that I think when there's an opportunity for collaboration, that's the best option, when we can work proactively with BNSF. It's also important that we're listening to people who are operating the trains, who see what are going on and see what recommendations they have. Could be additional staffing, could be additional technology. I think it's also important to contextualize, and this is not, that all transportation has inherent danger. The question is, how do you most effectively mitigate that danger? And so I stand absolutely as a willing and excited partner in hearing from you all, the ideas you have, the things that you're hearing, and opportunities we have to mitigate risk.
I'm sorry. No one on Zoom can hear any of the questions from people who are not mic'd up. So could you please repeat the questions before they're answered?
Unfortunately, that was something that we were not aware of until it filled up. We are recording this meeting, so we will be able to disseminate that. So we're going to ask you to come up to the mic so that we can have the Zoom members be able to, and meeting members to be able to hear as well.
Hi, so to the question of, the community is fearful, there's an economic cost to this response, which has got to be huge. I'd be interested to know in the end what it costs to after the fact, deal with the fire. So in these conversations about what to do in the future proactively. Somebody's paying for this now, let's pay for it ahead of time than, rather than after the fact.
So I can address that to a little bit. We've been approved under FEMA with a Forest Management Assistant Grant, which will pay approximately 75% of all the suppression costs. It'll pay for overtime for Summer and her people and for PUD and things like that. So that economic part impact has been, pretty much taken care of with the acronym is FMAG. And that's in place. It's been in place for several days. And that's what enabled, for example, the fire marshal to mobilize all people from all over the state to come on in.
Can I ask a question on Zoom? Sorry, I can't see if other people have their hands up.
Absolutely.
Just a quick question about the western flank. I know that I believe the firefighters are holding at the Shattuck Spring area. Can you speak to the condition of the properties that are on Shattuck Springs Road? Have any of them been lost today? I know that they hadn't as of this morning, but it would be great to get an update on what that looks like in that area. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do not believe they have, Chief Krebs.
Last time I was down there was probably 2 p.m. and nothing had been lost at that point. They were holding. We had quite very good air support at that time. The easterlies were picking up, but when I had left, left there around 2 and everything was fine. It hadn't crossed over and I don't believe it had got into any of the PUDs at that point.
Thank you for the update and thank you guys for all the work. I understand there was a ton of people on those properties that were investing in a lot of hours. Thank you, everybody, for everything you did.
John Hardham.
Yeah, thanks. I'm on Zoom. I appreciate the fact that both Aaron and Dennis, you've answered some of that question about the water system on Shattuck Springs. We have a lot of concerns about the safety of our water supply and just want to make sure that the pump is still viable and that it is still functioning.
So the pump is currently still viable and we're cautiously optimistic that it is gonna survive this event. We do have generators, or we're working on getting a generator lined up should we have to either lose power to the pump or they're unable to. That's our big concern at this point, is the power to the pump. We think we've brushed around the structure good enough to where it would most likely survive. But we are working on a backup to have generators in place. So as of now, it is functional. And like I said, we are cautiously optimistic.
Thank you.
Correct. So we are rationing water as well. We've set up, I believe at Willard, they have a pump so the fire crews can get their water there and not deplete our reservoirs. Should we lose power, we at least have the reservoirs as full as possible to help out with potable water.
Karen on Zoom.
Hi, yeah, this is Karen. Thanks for having both an in-person and Zoom meeting and for all the hard work you're doing. I live on the western end of White Salmon, and I'm curious to know more about the fire line on the eastern side of the fire and what the preparations are to prevent sparks coming our way with the shift in the wind in the next 24 to 36 hours.
I don't have the answer for you to be specific, and so I don't want to speak out of turn. Chief Krebs, do you have the answer?
At this point, I don't know with what DNR had. I wasn't on the eastern flank. I know they had sent a crew from the top to the bottom, and from what I was told, most of the eastern flank was under control-ish, but as you know, you can only do so much on steep terrain. They put all the birds they could on it. There's a bunch of rotors. They think they got it knocked down as much, but we all live in the gorge. You get 40-mile-an-hour winds. There's nothing there. You just don't know. We're doing the best we can, honestly. Wish I had a better answer for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Robert on Zoom.
What are the criteria for removing the evacuation order?
So I'm meeting with fire personnel to make that decision. It's my biggest concern is the safety of the citizens. And if we lift or relax an order, or I like to call it a notification, I don't like to call it an order, evacuation notification, and then something changes overnight or that next morning significantly. And when we're looking at these weather forecasts, that's exactly what they're doing. I don't have the manpower in my agency to go door to door again. And we would make that happen, but I don't want to go through and have to ask deputies or call deputies out or ask other agencies to undo a mess that I created. Does that make sense?
Of course it does. And I appreciate your hard work.
All right, thank you.
I think that actually leads really well into my next question, which is, I know all of us really appreciate the emergency alert system. I think the reverse 911 is super clever. And there's one additional system that I know is sometimes available, which is the wireless emergency alert system. I think folks might be familiar with that as the thing that buzzes on your phone when the Amber Alerts go off. And they can be heavily localized by which cell tower you're near, which could capture some folks who are camping, not residents, just work, people who commute to work around here. Is there some way we could support the addition of using the wireless emergency alert system in our community, especially with, like you said, things could change really quick, and I want to make sure we have every resource at our disposal. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And we did discuss possibility of utilizing that system. Unfortunately, with the cell coverage that we have, you may get alerts over to Hood River or other areas. And so we did not want to create a mass panic unnecessarily, but I think that is something to consider. And I've definitely entertained the idea. I wrote it down just to remind myself. Is there anybody else that has any other questions? Yes, sir. Would you mind using the mic? Thank you. I apologize.
Can you explain what you mean by 5% containment? Does that mean 95% of it is uncontained?
That would be a DNR question. I don't know where they come up with the containment numbers, to be honest with you. Sorry.
That guy? I'm curious what the green flags are on people's mailboxes and their houses. I'm on schoolhouse. Yeah.
From what I was under the understanding, it's not from anything from the fire department. We're not exactly sure. I think there's a private insurance company that was hanging it. You might know this.
I know the answer to that. It's State Farm Insurance and maybe one other company have hired a private fire management group. They come around, they look at, maybe trim a few trees or say, hey, move this away from your house, that kind of stuff. And they told me that if there's a green flag there and there's a problem, the fire department knows that their agency will be there, and so they can maybe concentrate on places that don't have a flag.
Sounds like news to all of us.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there a place that we can be informed of what the needs are for the community that's been displaced, for donations or other?
And that's something I can work on. We've discussed trying to set up a donations page and be able to have other community members be able to outreach. So we are working on that, and I will certainly put that on my list. Thank you.
Hi, I live east of the fire on Weather Rock Road off of Cooper, and I was wondering with the wind change, how much danger there is there? And thank you for all your work.
Chief, do you have the answer to that one?
Yeah, there's really no way to currently there's an active fire there. It's diminished on the eastern line. We're not sure what the winds are going to do. That's where we're at, honestly.
I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this question, but I'm wondering about our mail and our Amazon packages delivery and all those important things.
Oh, I get it. I love Amazon. So I do have the answer to your mail. The routes are the route mail that's delivered directly to your home is being routed to White Salmon Post Office, and the post office box mail is in Bingen. I know that's somewhat of an inconvenience, but that's the best that they could do. I do not know. I did see a UPS truck delivering up there, so I don't know, go UPS, but I don't know about Amazon. Mike or Diana?
Unmute. Here we go. I had a question. Our house is right by the Spring Creek hatchery, and I was wondering about the power, if it is still off or if it has been turned back on yet. Thank you.
So currently, everybody has power. We don't have any power outages other than for homes that did not survive.
Thank you.
I do want to give a quick shout out to the PUD. They were out there that night on Sunday night replacing poles to try and restore power almost immediately. Any other questions? Oh, Robert on Zoom.
Sorry to come back with another question. Is there anything that we can do to support the firefighters? Water, food? We know they're busting their butts.
Absolutely. I know that type 2 incidents they come well equipped. However, I have heard that there have been some issues with dispensing some of the items out to the field workers. Chief Krebs, do you know?
There was a drop off at everybody's, and first of all, it'd be a great time to just say, from Fire District 3, we're sorry for the structures that we lost. It's hard, but the outreach of the community has been amazing. Yeah. Sorry, it's hard. It's a hard time for everybody. We all take our jobs very seriously. And my wife, bless her heart, has been handing out free gifts that you guys have been bringing to everybody's, and then they stage it at our house, and we've had 3 or 4 pickup loads full of goods. Right now, I think the current usage is kind of spot on. I don't think we need many more donations right now. I don't know how long the fire is going to go. We have an abundance of stuff, but from the bottom of all our hearts, we really appreciate all the support that the community has given us.
I heard a rumor, but I don't want it to continue if it's not true, but some of the folks I know said had been some looting in the Underwood area. Can you let us know if that's been occurring and what we might do to minimize those opportunities for those folks.
Sure, that rumor started on Sunday evening and that initial information was unsubstantiated. I don't know if there may be some type of looting. We have been trying to make efforts of making patrols through the area, especially at night. I had a deputy come in Sunday evening, late Sunday night, where we would see some of the issues on overtime just to patrol that area to prevent that exact behavior.
Yes. I've seen the number, and I'm sure everyone else has, where the estimate is that this fire won't be put out until sometime in August. And I understand the reasons for that, you can't get boots on the ground on the cliffside. And there's no way to know if there are embers burning there. But with a month of winds coming, I mean, does this mean for the next month, we're all going to be just, waiting for the fire to break out again?
And I truly wish I had that answer for you.
Does the emergency alert go out in Spanish and English? And can you address maybe some of the Spanish language outreach that's happened? Because most of the information I see is in English, but I know our vineyard workers didn't know, for instance, so.
Sure, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That has been a failure on my part, and I will take full responsibility for that. I will try to do better to communicate for people that are non-English speaking. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. I believe it's only English. I don't know, but I will check into that. Thank you.
Hi, great job on the fire. I ran around and looked at how close those flames came, and you guys have done a great job. What I'm a little curious of, because I hear, oh, we don't know what way the wind's gonna come from. We do, it's coming back from the west. And I assume, but are you guys working on a fire line on the other, for when it does switch around, rather than just, I know you don't just react to what you see. So I just wanted to hear more about that. Thank you.
And during my initial brief, they are working on preliminary fire lines too. I explained on the west. I'm sure they're doing on the east. Chief Krebs, do you know if they're doing all over area fire breaks?
They do have fire breaks on the eastern line, along with the western line. On one of the things on the east, they've been trying to do mop up down below by Broughton's to reduce all the hot spots. So if it does pick up really, it will pick up, that we don't have those embers. So they're trying to put the spot fires out as much as they can. So yes, it's currently being taken care of at the best of ability that we can.
Shay on Zoom.
Yeah, we lost water right during the heat of the fire. My question to the PUD is, what is being done to fortify either transfer of water from tank to tank, or manually cutting off customers, or they're bringing pools of water, the firemen are here to backfill, and they're filling tanks and things like that. What are we doing to prevent A, water loss to customers, and B, a secondary line of water for customers that are right at the edge of the fire?
So we are monitoring our reservoir levels and making sure that we don't get in a circumstance where we run dry and have another boil mandate. We have diverted the fire crews to going to Willard and getting their water there and not depleting our reservoirs. And with our advanced meter infrastructure, we have been able to kind of watch for high usage, and the fire department's been great at contacting those customers and getting them to not irrigate their lawns, and so forth. And if no one's home, then we turn it off at the meter. And we're hopeful that tomorrow we do get the good lab results, but when we do, I do request that you refrain from using irrigation. It really depletes our reservoirs. Our systems they're just not that big. So it might not seem like 50, 100 sprinkler systems would have that big of an adverse effect, but it does. So we don't want to end up in the same boat where we're on a boil mandate. So that is my request.
So what is being done to fortify the existing infrastructure? Because literally we're a few sprinklers away from no water.
Well, the fire crews are aware of how critical Galligan Spring is, since that is our source and it is needed to fill the reservoir. So it's got their direct attention. We are working on a backup plan if we lose power, where we could use generators to pump the water back up to the reservoirs. If for some reason the structures were to burn up, that's a whole nother story, but we are actively looking for options there as well.
I just kind of want to add, I'm a state representative, but I'm also the economic development director for Skamania County. So the one thing that we've been talking about for the last 4 years is the Underwood water system. And the previous director, this is Randy's second day on the job. First week on the job as the manager of the PUD. So, but that being said, the previous manager brought this to our attention several times. I mean, we talk about it quarterly, and I think that this brings to attention I hate to say it, it's a failing water system. It has a lot of needs. I don't know if all of you know this, but the reservoir, one of them is made out of wood. And so when it gets down halfway, it starts leaking water. And so how do you get ahead of that, especially when you're trying to help? And so one of the goals that, we have, Congresswoman Glusenkamp Perez has, is that we have to get funding for a new water system. We absolutely have to. And the thing is that people forget, when I go back into session, they'll forget that this fire happened, but we won't. And it is my goal. I have my senator right here on speaker. She can hear everything I'm saying. And our senator, actually. And I told our senator, we have to get this done, if it's before session or next session, because the Underwood water system has a lot of issues and we have to address them, especially for fire flow protection. I mean, that's been the concern this entire time. So.
So I actually have two questions in one point. I came up from the back and I didn't see your contact stuff, and the people on Zoom might not be able to do that. So you might want to share that with them. My second question is regarding the comment on the looting. Ooh, are we better off leaving our houses unlocked so it's safe for the firefighters to go in, or what do we do from that in that situation?
That's a personal decision that you'll have to make. I will say that firefighters typically would not make entry into your residence. Am I correct, Chief? So that would be abnormal. And so I'm not going to tell you to lock your doors. I'm not going to tell you to unlock your doors. You'll have to make that personal decision for yourself.
Thank you. And my last question is, did you have an opportunity to share how many homes were destroyed in the fire?
So there's no hard count at this moment. And that's why I have not stated, there has been rumors of, upwards to 12, low numbers of 8. So we don't have a hard number at this point. The firefighters in the field have made a priority to fight the fire, and I'm trying to get that information as soon as possible. John Hardman on Zoom.
Hi, this is Linda on John's Zoom. I don't have a question, but I did want to follow up on the comment about the insurance carriers. I was talking to a resident yesterday that's up at the corner of Colic Nap where Scoggins comes in. And they have USAA insurance, which is provided for folks that have been in the military. And he has stationed, the USAA guy has stationed his truck in their driveway and has been there since Sunday and is covering 3 other homes in the area that he's watching to try to mitigate damage if it should be imminent, which I thought was very amazing. So I just wanted to add that comment.
Impressive. Kevin Widener.
Thank you, Sheriff. One of the things I would like is, or point out is that some of our neighbors, the Zoom call was limited to 100, and I've been getting emails and texts that many of them haven't, especially in Underwood, haven't been able to join. So if we could have this again to have much more than 100 participants, that would be great. Thanks a lot.
I will make sure of that. And I want to point out that Kevin is one of our Aries members, which is amateur radio, ham radios. And he has been down in the EOC with me, volunteering to answer phones and dedicated line with several other Aries members. He's an incredible volunteer that you guys have in your neighborhood. He's absolutely incredible. Thank you, Kevin. I don't know what his call sign is or channel, but I'm ham radio ignorant, but I'm going to change that. I get pressure from those guys. Ron on Zoom.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, when we sign up for the reverse 911, how long should it take for those calls to be starting to come to us? Both my wife and I signed up, unfortunately, on Sunday at probably about 1 p.m. We have not received a call yet.
I don't have the answer for that, but I can look into it. If you can leave your information in the chat, I can.
Disabled.
What's that?
The chat is disabled.
Oh, I apologize. If you could reach out to me, with your information, and I can try and answer that for you.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you.
First off, I'd like to thank the local firefighting team in Underwood. Greatly appreciated. But my question is, why isn't someone from the incident command team here to answer fire questions in addition to these fine folks?
That was a choice I made. I wanted this to be a local community meeting with local people. These are people that are from outside our community that respond to these incidents. And so the information that I'm able to give you regarding the fires and response is everything that they're disseminating already.
With all due respect, those are professional who work large wildland firefighting, every summer. You do not have the experience and the expertise that they do.
And I apologize. I thought that portion was covered. That's why I wanted this to be a community meeting. And you're 100% right. And in no way, shape, or form am I claiming that I have any of the expertise that they do. If you talk to me about laws, I can talk to you all day. So I completely respect that. And I truly thought that that would have been covered in the 5 p.m. meeting.
Hello? Can I ask a question?
Yes, Julie, go ahead.
I left town on Sunday morning and have been sort of following this very eagerly to visit relatives in another state. And so I'm just trying to follow this and get good information. I live above Northwestern Lake, off of Lakeview, and I'd like to kind of really understand how to progress home next week. And I'm wondering what kind of sources you can give us to, get really, get good direction to get where we need to get. I mean, I understand the Cook Underwood is, they're allowing some movement on it, but the 141 alternate is closed. Is that still correct?
No, it's been opened.
Oh, good. Okay, that's great. So I guess I'll just have to figure it out, but I'm just having a little bit of difficulty finding good sources of information about the direction. I've seen the map, but I'm not very good at reading exactly what it is that it means. So I'm hoping you'll have another one of these meetings so we can continue to understand what's going on regularly.
Absolutely, I will do my best. And I can't speak for what's going to happen next week, but what I can tell you, Washington State Department of Transportation's website is excellent in having updated information. We are trying to update our information constantly on our Facebook and our website. Facebook is Skamania County Sheriff's Office. Website is skamaniasheriff.com.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you, firefighters.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a question directed for Congresswoman Glusenkamp Perez. I understand that the federal government does not support local water systems in the same manner that they support state highways and transportation systems. However, there are programs at the federal level, things called the State Revolving Fund or SRF. Are there things that we can do to encourage the federal government to participate in growing, developing, improving the Underwood water system?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I have seen a real disparity in what agencies are getting access to federal grants. There are federal grants and loans for water systems. Oftentimes they come with a really high administrative burden that smaller communities just can't overcome. And so often those programs or those projects are sort of, in my view, they have often fallen through the cracks. And one of the things that I made a focus when I was allocating my list of community funded projects was regional water systems, small rural regional water systems, because these are really the nuts and bolts of a functioning community. And we see, I'm on a sewer system. I live, I get my water from a well. So I've seen and heard from many people the challenges that come with engaging with some of these grant programs. These are things that I'm working on in the legislative space. How do we make these programs more flexible? How do we provide more equitable access to smaller communities? How do we streamline the administrative burden of accessing these dollars? So yeah, this is absolutely a problem that we're seeing.
And just to add really quick, I until I became a state representative, I really underestimated the state's ability to fund projects. And so know that we actually have another rep here, another member here. And we sit on capital budget, and we are allowed to have home projects that go to what we want or try to get what we want. And frankly, this is now my number one project going into next session. And I will do everything to try to get as much funding for the PUD as I can. So.
Any other questions before we close? Okay, so.
I have a question. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering if another one of these meetings is going to occur, and if so, would the incident management team be able to be present for it then?
I would be able to probably secure a liaison to be able to come and respond. I can always ask them.
Okay, and then would there be another meeting like this that occurs like every so often?
Yes, I'd like to do that. This is for you all, so I would prefer that way if this is something that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And again, thank you guys so much for all your hard work out there. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have a question. Hello?
Hi, go ahead.
Yes, this doesn't need to be answered today, but I think one of the things that's really important in the agricultural community in Skamania County for vineyards and orchards is when our workers will be allowed to back into the orchards and vineyards to be able to do the work that needs to be done for this growing season.
Absolutely. And that's what I touched upon, the different levels of evacuation. So I'm working on that tirelessly, and we'll try to get as much lessen the restrictions as much as possible, as soon as possible, but with safety in mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just had one more comment. I think everybody knows this, but the initial attack was 99% volunteer firemen. We had mutual aid from Clicktack County, everybody from Stevenson. So, and volunteers, people that aren't even on fire departments. So what I'm saying is first and third Wednesdays at 7, we could use some bodies at the station. So thank you.
That was brilliant timing.
7.
So one last note for those who have been and really my heart breaks for people who have lost homes. For those of you who have, my office stands entirely at your service to do whatever we can to help expedite the return or the reissuing of any official paperwork, military records, social security cards, passports, those kinds of things. Whatever we can do to be helpful, please call us. We are eager. And come by the office in Vancouver, but we're here to be as helpful as we can.
First and foremost, thank you for everything you've done. I live on Shattuck Spring Road, and I know you guys have been there the last few days, just prepping a ton, and I really appreciate it. And so do my neighbors who are probably on this call, but this might be a little glass half empty of me, but just seeing as how it's quite difficult terrain, and it's kind of right in the line of fire at the moment. What's the best way to kind of check on progress of one's home that's currently inaccessible? Not necessarily even to, I guess, go back, because again, this fire sounds like it's going to be here for a while, but really just it's because we don't live on Cook Underwood. It's a very unique situation where we're quite isolated, and seems like kind of closures on 14 are between mile marker so such and such, and so I was just kind of curious to know what progress needs to be had before any conversation of gaining access to our road can happen.
So there's just a lot of unanswered questions right now, and because of the various fire behavior and the weather has not been cooperative whatsoever, I don't have an answer for you, and we may not know for a little bit, but you can always reach out, and we may be able to have some information at the sheriff's office for you. So with that, we'll conclude the meeting. I do want to say one parting statement. I know there are no words to comfort you that I can say, but I do want you to know that I stand right beside you as these people do behind me. We have your backs. We will do everything in our power to help you in any way possible. I appreciate the questions tonight, and I truly appreciate some of the things that I didn't think about and that I will learn for the next time. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, and we're going to hang in there. We got this. Take care.
Recording stopped.